Hey everyone, here are the results from the first plot that you sent to me, and I've had a chance to run it through Agisoft's photo scan. And you can see the blue squares or rectangles, just to remind you, are the cameras or the computer's idea of where it thinks the cameras were when the images were taken. And you can see it's done a very good job of lining it up. Nice dome pattern, and in fact, all 315 images were aligned. So that is really 100% alignment is really pretty good. This is the highest level. It took a few hours to run, but it wasn't too bad. And I think you can see right away some interesting patterns that we might have to deal with. One is this black cloud here, which I think is the shadow, probably because the sun is at a low angle. I'm not sure. And then there is some object here. I don't imagine what is the frame. Maybe it's the light sensors. But let me get rid of the camera squares so we can get a better look of what's being shown here. And you can see pretty good. I mean, if you squint your eyes, that looks to me like what the photos were showing, and you can see elements of the frame. Now, this is the what's called a sparse cloud. We now can look at the dense cloud, and this is the one that takes a very long time to generate and doesn't color it so much. I think the computer's having some trouble with that many millions of points to color, but if we zoom out so I can color the whole thing, you can see it's very, I think, successful in reconstructing the vegetation. Here are the flags. Not sure what that is. There's that white marker, and there's that object in the center. I did not go through and clean it up. It takes a long time to do that, and we will have to come up with a protocol so we all clean up in the same way. But still pretty good for no particular processing. The only pre-processing I did was I trimmed away all of the points which were off into the distance. So that all of the time would be spent on analyzing this. There's some pros and cons to that. And so now, not that we'll be using this, but I think it's a good test of whether we believe what we're seeing. If we look at the three-dimensional model that's constructed, you can see it does this weird thing here where it winds up constructing the surface all the way to the top. Remember, it's constructing a single colorized sheet that consists of faces on a wire frame. But I think, if you look down here and you zoom in, you can see that it's really quite believable what we have. Take a look at this here, for example. I think you can pretty readily see that these plants are individually being recorded and fairly nicely defined. Here is, I guess, soil or lichen. I suppose this is lichen or dead stuff too. Now, this is not the nice lush vegetation like we had in the green roof, so the images aren't so pretty. But I do think that this is incredibly successful. Now, we have to do some cleaning up, as I said, because what will happen is you wind up getting these sort of floating clumps that need to be removed, and I think there's a way of making sure that that happens. When you do the surface reconstruction, it tends to abandon objects that are sort of stray objects, like that thing that looked like it might be a sensor array or part of the frame. And the flags didn't bother trying to connect the flags up with this, as you saw in the images. Still, great work here, folks. I'm excited about seeing this and seeing about the other images and all the things we'll be able to do with them once we get the point cloud and analyze the color and the volume and associate that with many of the other things that you are measuring. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.